This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. A resource for parents, a guide for student athletes, a source for current and former athletes, keys to transition off the court. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.
Welcome to this episode of Athletes as Educators. I am your host, Angie Lewis. On the podcast today, we have Dr. Kimberly Clay. She's the founder and executive director of Play Like a Girl. It is a nonprofit based out of Nashville, Tennessee, but there are programs happening throughout the country as well as Canada. Play Like a Girl inspires girls to be happy and healthy through participation in sport. Dr. Kimberly Clay, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be a part of this conversation.
Now, we're both a part of the Women's Athlete Business Network that Ernst & Young has sponsored, and that's how we met. Why was it important for you to be a part of that group, and how has women in sports impacted your life?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it was really key because to be involved because I actively run the nonprofit, and our work is specifically centered around opening the door and creating pathways for girls in sport, such that they will hopefully maintain a lifestyle of sport throughout their lifespan. I was first introduced to the network as a part of my relationship with espnW and Toyota. A couple of years ago, I was honored by Toyota at the espnW Women in Sports Summit as an everyday hero for the work that I do with Play Like a Girl. And as I learned more about the research that Ernst & Young had produced and some of its findings as it relates to the academic and then career achievements of women who've previously been involved in sport, either as participating athletes or as supporters of those types of programs, I felt it imperative that I connect in some way and also give back, because the network includes opportunities for women to mentor women in sport who are making transitions in career. And the role that I play is that of a mentor. And I'm really excited to be a part of what I think is groundbreaking work that Ernst Young and their partners at ESPN are doing.
It is groundbreaking work, and with the prevalence of sport and more young women playing sports, it's imperative that we provide platforms that help women share their stories, but then also empower women to then go and help other young women come up and be confident. And
Most definitely.
will you talk a little bit about your background and how you became the executive director of Play Like a Girl?
Yeah. Well, I interestingly am not an athlete. I grew up in rural Mississippi, where sport for girls at the time that I was growing up wasn't an option. And even today, the options for sport are really limited to probably 2 to 3 sports, including cross country or track. And then there's, of course, basketball and then softball. Those are the real options in my small town of Batesville, Mississippi. And out of that experience of not having access to sport, not having it as an option even, I began struggling with my weight very early as a child. And with that came, issues with depression and anxiety and low self-esteem and low confidence and low self-worth. And although I've accomplished many great things in my life and in my career, I hold, multiple master's degrees. I hold a PhD. I'm married to a physician who's subspecialized probably 4 times over. And I have 2 wonderful children. Those are all great life accomplishments. But even at 41 years old, nearly, I still struggle today with my weight. And I recognize the role that sport plays not only in life success as it relates to career and career related outcomes, but also sport and physical activity helps to prevent and control overweight and obesity. And so while I was completing my PhD training, I had the opportunity to create a passion project that for me turned into a nonprofit. It really grew out of some work that I wanted to do to give back to the local community of Birmingham, Alabama at the time. And we thrived for many years doing work at the community level, specifically around educating women and girls, minority women and girls in particular, around health outcomes and how to prevent and reduce risk related to heart disease and diabetes and stroke. And over time, I recognized that the problem was starting much earlier in the lives of women, specifically like myself, starting in childhood, with the precursor being overweight and obesity. And so at that point, we experienced the entree of the Obama family into the White House, and with the administration of President Obama came First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative, which kind of opened the door for us to rethink our programming and to go back and re-engineer such that we abandoned some of our old programs that focused on the adult woman only and began doing programming with girls, but also engaging the women in their lives, including mothers and caregivers and medical professionals in the work that we were doing. And so over time, over the course of now 12 years, we have evolved and now run two core programs, Sporty Girls, which is our after school program for girls in middle school, where we introduce them to a sampling of sports with the goal that they will spark an interest for play and movement and ultimately continue in a sport over their life course. And then we also offer a high school and collegiate Play Like a Girl Club program where high school and college women can establish their own Play Like a Girl clubs on their campuses and engage like women, their peers, in physical activity, intramural sports, fitness classes, and a host of other things in addition to community service and fundraising activities to benefit Play Like a Girl, Sporty Girls participants. So that's really our story. It was largely motivated by my own personal struggles. And I think supported in many ways by my education and my expertise in the field. I came out of public health, working for the Centers for Disease Control for several years. I ran the state of Georgia's Cancer Prevention and Control Program. And no matter what I touched, everything led me back to community. Even in the classroom when I was, assistant professor at University of Georgia, developing social work and public health curriculum for students, that work still led me back to community. And so when I had the opportunity to finally pull out of everything else and devote my 100% of my focus to Play Like a Girl to help grow and scale the organization, I did that in 2010, and I've been at the helm since, and we continue to grow. And it's an exciting time. So I'm honored to do what I do.
The work that you're doing is so important. And I love how you've integrated college students and have them being able to support the cause, fundraise, and then help the younger girls as well. Is one of those paying it forward type organizations. And that is so important because what we have and what we do is so much bigger than each of us. Will you talk about some of the college campuses that you're on and some of the great outcomes that have happened because of Play Like a Girl?
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, we never perceived or even conceived ourselves as a national or international organization. We wanted to focus squarely in the South, where physical inactivity and obesity rates were highest. So we, as I mentioned before, we started in Alabama, we expanded to Texas, and now our national home is here in Nashville. And despite every effort to not expand beyond the capacity of the South, it kind of started, honestly, with our collegiate program. When we established the club program, one of our first applicants outside of Texas, where we have programs, clubs at Southern Methodist University, which is actually a 100% soccer run program. So women athletes on the soccer team actually pioneered the chapter there and continue to run the activities and lead the other girls on their campus as a Play Like a Girl club. They were our first sport-driven club on a campus. Outside of that chapter, as well as our chapter at the University of North Texas, our next chapter to establish was at Fairfield University, Queen's University in Ontario, Canada. We got an invitation from them to partner and bring our chapter, our club programs, establishing a collegiate chapter on their campus last summer. And they've been one of our highest performing clubs. And what makes them particularly different is that they're also our one and only club that also recruits males as members who are proud to say they play like girls. And I love that concept, because when we named the organization, when we chose our name, it was all about turning the concept of playing like a girl on its head and changing this insult to a very declarative statement that empowers girls and women. And so that's like, for me, you've arrived when men can proudly join an organization by the name and wear a t-shirt that says the same.
Right.
But also that particular chapter, because of its location, demographically and geographically, actually offer some of the most unique sports that we have. Of course, a lot of the sports that they offer are on the ice, because it snows as early as October and as late in the year as May. So it's been interesting to hear and see the things that are happening on that particular campus. We do have a chapter at Fairfield University, which I mentioned earlier, one at Bryant University, and then another that will be starting up at my alma mater, University of Alabama. So I'm very proud of that particular chapter, because it's full circle in many ways for us. So it's an exciting, time for us, because we continue to grow and expand. But never would I have imagined this is what we'd be doing when we first started out.
Sometimes we do something because we're passionate about it, like you said, and then it grows into what we could not believe possible.
Yes.
There are a lot of young women who are at the collegiate level, who are involved in Play Like a Girl, and others who will be involved in the future. What advice do you have for them as they go down their path in life and as they pursue various careers?
I would say the best advice I personally feel that I can give is truly to run, jump, kick, scream, do whatever you have to do to really fulfill your potential. There are so many challenges, so many barriers that women have to overcome. But when we accept that those barriers and challenges exist, and that we may have to go the route of enduring them to get to our ultimate goal, I think we more easily accomplish that which we set out to do.
Yeah.
And so pursuing those goals and being defiant in some ways in getting to the goal, reaching one's full potential, I think it's also important to bring others along. One of the things that we really support as a part of all of our programming, but specifically our collegiate program, is the importance of women being support to one another, girls being support to one another, and for us to reach back and play it forward. You mentioned that earlier, that many of us, Title IX opened the door for young women athletes to be able to have the right and the privilege and the opportunity to actually do that thing which they're most moved by. And so it was a woman and many other women who together made that happen for so many of us who today are able to do it. And so that passion, that persistence, that, kick butt mentality did not end with the passing of Title IX, with the opening of fields and courts to girls of that day. That work continues, and there are women like me and like you and so many others who are equally as passionate, who are equally as purpose driven. But we have to always remember that we didn't get where we are alone, and that many times, often, it was the woman who opened the door, a woman who gave us our first pair of shoes, a woman who handed us our first ball, or even a woman who cheered from the sideline. And so it's important to take a woman with you, a woman or a girl, and to also reach back when you arrive at the pinnacle of your career, whatever that is, whatever your goals are. When you get there, it's important to reach back and pull someone else forward.
You're right on point with all of that, because it is impossible to achieve any level of significance by yourself. No, we
Yeah.
can have success,
Yeah.
read, and we can study, and I get an A on my paper, but when
Yeah.
about having influence and being a leader, leadership doesn't happen because of one person. It happens because of a team and being able to impact others. So who have been some dynamic leaders in your life?
Oh gosh. I am fortunate to have had some amazing women in my life. My mom, of course. Most people. That's our first example, our first role model of what it means to be a girl, what it means to be a badass girl.
Right.
But beyond, the evidence, beyond mom, I would have to say, for me, seeing Oprah Winfrey
Mm.
on television as a young girl. And I was an aspiring journalist. I went to college to be a journalist. Never would I have thought I'd end up in the field of public health and running a nonprofit. But seeing a Black girl from Kosciuszko, Mississippi, who happened to go to Tennessee State University, pursue her passion and work her gift in the way that she did to arrive on my television screen every evening at 3:00. That was the biggest motivator for me, to help propel me out of the circumstance that I lived in at the time, to want to leave home, to want to go experience and get exposure elsewhere, to pursue my undergraduate degree, and then to go beyond that and see the world and do some other things. And I would have to say that Oprah has, on the other side of my life, as I've gotten older, um, played that same role, because I now know her personally. I have spent a number of hours with her. Um, I have sat at her feet and learned things from her that have revolutionized my life, spiritually more than anything. And so, what she represents and what she's done in the field of media, as a woman of color, continues to compel me, keeps me on my feet, on my toes, and striving, to do more, to give more, to serve more. And I would have to say she's been the most dynamic and most influential and empowering figure in my life. In the area of sports, oh my gosh, I would have to say, um, the one and only Serena Williams.
Yeah.
She defies every barrier. She breaks every record,
Mhm. She does.
and she sets every new standard for sport in general for women, but also for life and how we should approach life. And she, for me, represents what is possible for every little girl if she works hard and pursues that which she's most passionate about. But she also highlights, I think, the importance that I mentioned earlier about bringing someone along.
Mhm.
And her father and mother in particular did a great job of doing that with she and Venus. And so together they represent so much more to little girls and to me as an adult woman. When I think about sport and I think about the power of women in sport and all of the possibilities.
So you were working, and you were inspired by where you wanted to be, and you found out what it took to get there. So you went back and decided
Absolutely.
that you needed to learn more. I don't want to miss this point either, that life is this continuous learning process. And once you finish with your
Absolutely.
undergraduate degree, it doesn't mean that like learning ends. Really, it just starts, because there's a whole world
Yep.
out there that we don't know about and that you end up having to learn in the process.
I was just going to say, and one of the things, having been a university professor mentoring students, one of the things I say to students, even today, our interns that work at Play Like a Girl, I say to them that the one thing I learned, the best advice I was ever given, happened to be within my academic tenure. Someone said to me, be tenurable anywhere. Meaning, for a faculty member, be on top of your stuff, be skilled enough, be knowledgeable enough, and be well-rounded enough that you can get tenure as a faculty member anywhere. So how does that translate into other areas, other, industries, other work? Be marketable anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and recognize that competition is stiff. And often it's even more challenging because of the limited spaces available for women in the work that we do in industry in this country, in business and big corporations. So our job, whether it be we women or others, our male peers, is to work as hard as we can, to learn as much as we can, to have as vast a resume as we can, to be hireable and marketable anywhere.
Yeah.
And that requires work. It's just pure and simple. It requires work and a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, there's definitely no way around that work or sacrifice.
Yeah.
And when it's something that you love to do, it doesn't feel like sacrifice because you wake up thinking about it. Like this interviewing this podcast, I literally wake up every day ready to talk to new people and excited to share stories and eager to hear other people's stories. And that's when you know like it's a part of who you are and a part of your soul and your gifts and your purpose. When you can't stop thinking about it and working toward it.
Yeah.
So how do we teach people to hold conversations? How do you teach the young women that you mentor? We know that cell phones aren't going anywhere, and
Yeah.
we're becoming even more digital and connecting in that way. But
Yeah.
relationships, authentic relationships, are built in conversation. So
Yeah.
how do they learn?
We do so in silence.
Mm.
When adults sit quiet enough, young people will speak. And out of the quiet, you listen. And as we've learned to listen, we've discovered the things that girls want most, be it young girls, middle schoolers, high schoolers, or college age young women. We discover the things that they struggle with the most.
Mm-hmm.
We discover the things that they want from us the most as other women, older women. And we're then able to not speak back to them necessarily in that moment, but to ourselves, process and derive solutions for them.
Mm.
And that for me has been the most revolutionary, the concept of actually sitting quiet long enough so that they will speak. Many times they feel that there's no space for them to speak and be heard. And so, even as a parent and as a mentor to young women, I don't parent biologically a girl, but I parent in other ways, girls in my life. Um, I have learned to have to sit quiet, take the devices away if it's in the the personal space of my life, in my business work. It is sitting in a meeting and saying, I'm providing you the opportunity to convene this meeting. It's about your work. I want to give you voice. So,
Mm.
in the other areas of my work where it has been important to give voice, in order to give voice you have to first be silent, because the person speaking has to have the space, the permission to be able to speak in their voice.
You've triggered something for me that I dismissed early on, but now having this conversation has made me value the concept of giving voice to someone else cannot be understated because it is extremely empowering. Oftentimes, as adults, specifically as an adult woman, we want to tell other young women how to be, instead of providing that space for them to tell us who they are, and then for us to affirm who they are, and then
Yes.
them based on whoever they want to be or whatever they want this life to be for them, which is a very
Yes.
different paradigm to
Yep.
come from. Who gave you voice?
Yep.
Who provided that space for you?
Honestly, I'd have to say not my mother. We still argue,
Yep.
and don't quite give one another voice. But I'd have to say, more than likely for me, it was teachers along the way who were important in my academic pursuits. I know many by name, and I remember and can recall very specific situations where I was given voice, and I was affirmed. But I would say in my latter years, it has been my husband.
Mm.
He is my greatest supporter, my biggest champion. He cheers me along, even when I am foolishly going in the wrong direction and doing the wrong thing. He is the person who has supported me in this last 6 years of working and running Play Like a Girl without compensation or benefits. He's the biggest giver to our charitable effort. It has all come back to him sitting in silence and permitting me the opportunity to dream out loud and then to manifest those dreams, even when I failed at some things. Not saying that was horrible, but supporting me while with the things that I needed to say, but also the things I needed to hear, sorry, but also pushing the envelope with me around how I critically think about the work, even that I do. So that's the one area in my life where a woman has had influence, but hasn't been the greatest influence. My husband, being a man, has really taught me how to think things a little bit differently um, than perhaps I would have if I didn't have him in my life.
It's important that we don't discount the necessity for men to do the same. You know,
Yeah.
your husband listening, being willing to listen is huge. And in addition to women listening, men need to listen as well. And men can be some of our greatest advocates. Some of my best coaches and mentors have been men. And so, like
Absolutely.
a girl, the goal is to empower women, but that doesn't mean that we don't need men. We're not saying that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
As we
And
close.
I would say, to the title of your show, athletes as educators. The one thing I've learned on the journey of life is that the greatest lesson you'll ever teach is the one you did not speak. The
Mm.
lessons we teach people out of the examples that we become in how we live our lives, how we deal with people, how we communicate, uh, our level of integrity, our ethical and non-ethical practices in the way that we do business. All of those things teach people more than much of anything that we could ever speak out loud to them. And so that's kind of the space in which I've lived my life. And I love that that is how we as a couple, my husband and I, coexist in the world of business, how we interact with colleagues, how we do business with others, because it is important in this day and age for us to raise a standard around integrity and in creating that voice and that space of silence for this generation's voice to be heard. uh, Silence becomes even more important because that's when they actually pay attention and listen to us, because they deem that we have actually granted them worthiness to actually speak. And so it's the same strategy we use with our own children who are, preteens and teenagers now, who think they know everything. So we empower them to know things that they do have power to know and understand and prove to be true and to stand firmly on. But we teach them more by just allowing them to be, allowing them to have voice and reaffirming their voice and who they are without always having to dictate to them how they should be, what friends they should choose, what sport they should play. Trust me, I am tired of buying sets of sports gear and trying out different shoes. Uh, but it's the sacrifice of empowering them to be critical thinkers who can process that baseball just doesn't work for me, you know? But if it takes us baseball, swimming, horseback riding to finally get to golf and tennis, I'll take it, because guess what? They're moving, they're physically active, and they're learning some core skills that will get them through life.
Giving them that space to try things is a gift. It's definitely a gift. And encouraging and affirming them is another gift as well. If you were in front of 10,000 girls today, what would be your advice for them as we close? 10,000 girls.
Make it happen. Whatever it is. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. Make it happen. Clear and simple.
And then you drop the mic and walk off. That is no, I love that. You should get t-shirts with "Make It Happen," because it implies that your effort and energy is the only thing that can make it happen. No one's going to walk up to you and give it to you. You have to literally make it happen.
Yeah.
To make it happen.
It's all up to you.
And
that's how I've done it.
Yep. You have.
Had some people pulling me along the way, but I had to do the work.
Yep. You always have to be the one to do the work. You can have the best mentors in the world, but if you don't do what they tell you to do, then if you don't take the advice, if you don't actually act on that which you want, it cannot happen. So make it happen. Dr. Kimberly Clay, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It has been such a joy speaking with you.
Likewise. Thank you.
I look forward to working with you in the future and much continued success with Play Like a Girl.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And good luck with your book and all the great things that are going to come as a result of that.
Thank you.
This is Athletes as Educators.
Thank you for listening to the Athletes as Educators podcast. Connect with me through the Athletes as Educators Facebook page or at Athletes Educate on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. For more resources and information about today's podcast, you can check us out at AngelaRLewis.com.